My name is Brooke, and this is part of my story. I've always considered myself a Christian. I grew up going to church and loved spending time with my youth group. My church was my second home. I'd always been known, even at my public high school, as this goody-goody Christian girl, and I embraced it, for the most part. My senior year of high school, I started dating someone I had known and been friends with since middle school, and who I knew, and everyone else did too, was agnostic. Looking back, it's easy to see that I wanted people to notice and to actually try to understand me rather than just put me in this Christian box and write me off. I wanted people to see that I could be fun, that I was my own person and not just the stereotypical Christian girl. We butted heads a lot, and I convinced myself that that's what I wanted because it was the only way that I could really grow and be known. I convinced myself that it would help me grow in my faith and that God was challenging me to see if I could handle it or that I could help him to become a Christian like me. He recognized that my faith was important to me, so we talked early on about how if I realized that I needed to be with someone who was a Christian, he wanted me to break up with him. And that just convinced me more that this wasn't hurting my faith, and even that it was helping it. As I came into my freshman year at Ball State, I pretty much only knew my roommate, who was one of my friends from church, and I didn't talk much to my friends from home except my boyfriend. I was in this new place where my reputation as a Christian didn't precede me, and one of the only connections I held onto from home was with this guy who disagreed with me about God. My first interaction with Crew was someone following up with me after a survey I filled out during Welcome Week. She talked to me about what Crew believes, and all these things were things that I knew and had accepted, but at some point, I just broke down and cried. I wanted desperately to find Christian friends here, but I was afraid that they would find out about my relationship and think less of me, that I wasn't really a Christian or that I didn't care about God. I was also worried that if I did get plugged in here, that it would either drive my boyfriend away from me or convince me to break up with him, and that just wasn't something I was ready to do yet. These fears followed me everywhere for my first year and a half of college. I ended up rooming with one of the girls I met in my Bible study freshman year, and she saw these things in me. So after a few hard conversations and some nudging from her, I decided to go to Crew's winter conference, and the theme could not have been more fitting. This changes everything. I realized over this week that I had been neglecting my relationship with God and trying desperately to be known in other ways. I've been trying to be understood by this guy who didn't have a relationship with God and choosing not to pursue the God who knows me more intimately than anyone ever could. I ended that relationship that week and said yes again to a relationship with my Father in heaven. Realizing he had never left me all that time and that he had just been waiting for me to come back to him was so reassuring. I can be sure of that because he loves me dearly and knows me well enough to see my need for him, even when I couldn't see it in myself. And that is why I think the relationship is greater than religion.